right, Alex, thank you for that update. Well, what does legalized pot have in common with an uptick in car accidents? One can only wonder. And the new GOP healthcare plan has finally been released, but does it have enough votes to pass? Plus, two major trials with verdicts that have shocked the nation. Let's start our top 4 and 4 countdown right now. Legal pot and car crashes. Yup, there is a link. An insurance study is connecting increased car crash claims to legalized recreational marijuana. Here's headline number 4. According to a study done by the Highway Loss Data Institute, a leading insurance research group, collision claims in Colorado, Washington, and Oregon went up 2.7% in the years since legal pot sales began when compared with surrounding states. Researchers looked at factors such as the number of vehicles on the road, the age and gender of drivers, weather, and even whether the driver making a claim was employed. Neighboring states were used also for comparison. Can you imagine a police officer responding to an accident and asking the driver under the influence, "Sir, how high are you?" And the driver responds and says, "No, officer, it's high. How are you?" That joke was funnier in my head. Let's move on now. We had several major trials this past week across the country. The outcomes were different, but were disappointing for many. First, let's visit the trial of Mr. Bill Cosby. Hey, here's headline number 3. No ridiculous outbursts to report this week after a mistrial was declared in Cosby's sexual assault trial. Jurors said they were hopelessly deadlocked. Prosecutors plan to retry the 79-year-old star on charges he drugged and molested a woman in 2004. Cosby says it was consensual. The trial took place outside Philadelphia, but the jury came from the Pittsburgh area. Meanwhile, jurors last week acquitted the Minnesota officer who fatally shot Philando Castile. Experts cite several factors for the low number of officers charged and convicted, including racial bias, attitude toward law enforcement, and the challenge of showing what an officer was thinking in a high-pressure situation. Healthcare is the topic for headline number 2. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has finally unwrapped his plan for dismantling President Barack Obama's health care law. Well, now he's facing his next challenge, persuading enough Republicans to back the measure. McConnell drafted the measure after spending weeks seeking middle ground between conservatives seeking an aggressive repeal of Obama's statute and centrists warning about going too far. The bill would cut and redesign the Medicaid program for low-income and disabled people. It would raise taxes on higher earners and the medical industry that helped Obama's law expand coverage by roughly 20 million Americans. The measure would drop the House's waivers, allowing states to let insurers boost premiums on some people with pre-existing conditions. Well, a shocking story that definitely hit close to home. A Mississippi bank teller was killed during an attempted robbery, and authorities say the suspect took her own life after a police chase. Here's headline number 1. Itawamba County Sheriff Chris Dickinson says 64-year-old Judy Gwynn was killed Wednesday at the Farmers and Merchants Bank in Manatee, a town of about 1,100 people. Jim Johnson, the sheriff in neighboring Lee County, says his department was called to help pursue a suspect in a black sport utility vehicle. Johnson says the suspect died in Saltillo, about 15 miles from Manatee. Lee County Coroner Carolyn Green says 28-year-old Ashley Smith of Pontotoc appeared to have died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Johnson says a weapon was recovered and it matches the caliber of shell casings found inside the bank. Definitely a tragedy in Manatee. And this has been another crazy week with breaking news after breaking news, and much of it unfolded in our area. But we've got you covered. Be sure to join me next week. I'll be counting down a new list of interesting stories and headlines from start to finish that everyone's talking about. This has been another Top 4 and 4 Countdown. We'll be right back after this.